Hey Myrna, how you
Hi, Angela. How are you?
doing this week?
Pretty good. It's time for another ground crew update, the Ascension Ground Crew. It
So,
came around fast, but I've been looking forward to it.
so you're ready to talk about Ascension?
I am. Well, and now that we've done this for a few weeks, oh, I have to remember this. I'll mention it in that meeting. So I like make little tickler files in my brain. Oh yeah, I'll mention that in the meeting. So yeah, we're getting a rhythm going.
Mhm. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this week there's been just lots of activity happening for me. I'm in a doer mode,
Mhm.
and I've been also steeped in doing a lot of angelic messages because I've come out of the spiritual closet and doing that now, where I'm actually not just getting angel messages for myself, but I figure why not go ahead and share it with others if we are really on this ascension ground,
True.
journey
Mhm.
together, keeping us grounded and keeping the light grounded into the earth as Earth is doing her ascension. We might as well, be
Mhm.
more in the collective with it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so I've been doing that more, and I want you to give us your update, but the only thing I have really is not so much as an update, like here's what's going on with me this week and everything. I just really want to talk about the role that joy has in playing
Yes.
the because
Mhm.
joy I think is so important, and some
Yeah.
of us are taking this spiritual process and symptoms and all this stuff so
Mhm.
seriously, and it gets to be so heavy going through the slog of working with your shadow and purging it, and same thing with
Mhm.
vibration separation and all this stuff. I really
Mhm.
want to talk about the lighter side of it, and I want to talk about bliss and joy because that is really the surest way for us to accelerate it, in my ever so humble opinion, as well as what I've been getting and receiving from the angels, constantly being urged to lighten up and be
Mhm.
joyful.
Mhm.
But before we do that, before we talk about that, why don't you get us updated on you? What's going on?
Oh, sure. Well, something that happened over the weekend that wanted to mention in today's meeting was Brian and I are walking through A Course in Miracles together. And so I was in a prayer process about one of the lessons, and it encourages you to kind of surrender your grievances. So if someone has done you wrong or you've been betrayed or whatever's happened, you and I have talked over the years about how much we've sorted through that baggage. We take the trash out and then, oh, wait, there's a little more. We take it out. And we look, how can there still be more? Like I've taken it out a dozen times and still there's more. So, yeah, I was telling Brian, probably pridefully, that no, I've handled this last grievance with a family member, and I really felt like I had shut it off, like I wasn't actively feeling any more energy around the trouble we had together. And as I was describing it, you say, well, tell me why that was the last one, why that was the hardest one. And as I shared that with him, he goes, yeah, you're not done with that. Like I had enough energy in my storytelling. Then he's like, yeah, still a story there. I'm like, doggone it. So I went into prayer about that. And sure enough, but here's the little prayer process that kind of finally closed the lid on this for me was not just to um, no longer hang on to the grievance as they describe it in that, but then to give her a miracle that comes when the grievance is dissolved, to
Mm,
actually award her love and a miracle, all that she deserves in life, to actually, from the deepest part of me, wish her well. And I hadn't been able to do that. And I didn't know I hadn't been able to do that until I kind of went through that little prayer process. And I felt that final release of, okay, maybe that was finally done. So I think sometimes, as much as we've done the work, in personal development, spiritual development, it takes us to a place where when we turn the corner, oh, there's a little more of that. Oh, okay. So that happened to me this week, and I think I'm done again. and it might be true. So we'll have to see. But a couple other things I noticed on Twitter this week, and I haven't been on Twitter very much. We've been doing some promotions for a live design, so I've been a little more posting than I would otherwise be. And a woman posted a picture, no idea who she is, of course, on Twitter, of a Bible. And she said, I just had this thing happen in my life, and I was saved or changed. Like, I'm not sure what happened, but I think it was a miracle. And so I realized I need to get to the bottom. Like, I don't understand how the world works. I need to come back to God somehow. So I bought a Bible. And here's a picture of it. And she goes, where do I start? How does this work? And so, and then she posted 2 days later, I didn't know there were so many different kind of Bibles. There's more than one kind. And so people are kind of finding their way back, if that's like a little mile marker on the Ascension, that the churches are full and people are sort of finding their way back, and which is kind of a right church. And their stories are being reported on Twitter. Well, I was invited to this one. I don't know if that's our cup of tea. We're going to try this other one and see where we fit. Especially for people who it's been years or maybe never ever involved in any kind of, religious, organized religious experience or a place to go or people to talk to. So I think that's encouraging. The last one I'll share is a woman who said she had extra money sent to her Zelle account last week, $225 or something just appeared. And she didn't know why it was there. And then she got an urgent message from a stranger who said, I accidentally sent money to your Zelle account that's meant for my sister's water heater. And I know you don't know me, but is there any chance you'll give it back to me? And she said, I'm a Christian. Of course I will. It's not my money. And she immediately sent it back. And this woman said, oh, well, what kind of Christian are you? And how did you arrive at your faith? This random act of one digit was different than her sister's. And they've had a conversation. She prayed over her over the phone, this stranger. So, I mean, if this isn't like kind of the mile markers of, well, people are kind of coming along. We've had Christian revivals in the past, or people more involved in exploring spirituality and religion. And I think we're in one of those times. And those are the Twitter updates on that.
So this is what you've been viewing in the external world
That's
that
right.
gives you the
That's right.
signs that ascension is at hand, huh?
Yeah, my internal world and my external world. That's the Ascension update.
So the concept of forgiveness, I think, is a fascinating one because really what to me it means is letting go. It's releasing. And if you really contemplate it, forgiveness is not about saying the other person is right or wrong or letting them off the hook, so to speak, from for whatever you perceive or actually they did to you. So it's not anything like that. It's what it's doing to you. It's letting go of what it's doing to you and how you're hanging on to it and how you're triggered by it. And I think, one of the things we sometimes use, the terminology we use is the tenacious tidbits, right? And so to me, the tenacious tidbit is I thought I had this figured out. I thought I had let this go. I thought this was done, and et cetera. But I think that I think you really do know. I think there is a clear way of knowing that the tenacious tidbit has been dug out and it's done. Sure, you might see some sort of or feel some sort of, from a claircognizance or a clairvoyance or whatever, you might see a sign that tells you, of course. But I feel like ultimately the knowing that you have that you've actually released it, you actually have let go of that tenacious tidbit, that trigger, that grievance that you held or whatever, is how you feel when you hook back, when you put your attention back to that individual, that occurrence, or the grievance that you used to have, that you tell yourself is over, how do you feel? It's not what you think, it's how do you feel? Like when you really feel into it, and use
Mhm.
your feelings, because boy, the angels keep telling me, use your feelings. Stop
Mhm.
trying to think your way
Mhm.
to progress.
Mhm.
Feel your way. It's already in there, so just feel it, right? So anyway, if you use your feeling, the feeling is described as neutrality. It's a
Yeah.
neutral feeling. There's not a feeling of, wee, I've gotten rid of it. Let's celebrate. Nor is there a feeling of, oh, I'm still
Mhm.
upset by this or have this grievance. Ah, and it makes me, ah. And you
Mhm.
can tell also by your bodily reaction. So
Mhm.
when I went through a deep forgiveness experience with a about a family member, whenever I thought about that family member, whenever I went through the thing about that family member in my mind or flashbacks of the
Mhm.
grievance, so to speak, I would actually have a visceral reaction in my body.
Yeah.
I would have a stress response in my
Yeah.
body, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So much like what post-traumatic stress disorder may
Right.
give you, where
Yeah.
you're feeling sweaty, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling, maybe your hands shake, maybe there's some sort of bodily reaction.
Mhm.
So your body and your feelings and the body feeling
Mhm.
goes neutral. That when you have that happen, you're not feeling that anymore. You feel
Right.
a neutrality.
Well, let me say, this is how it felt at the end, and this is why I thought, okay, I'm finally done. Is, as I'm in prayer and I'm gifting this family member this miracle, and the phrase was, this person is a child of God just as you are. Like
Hmm.
there's literally no difference between you. So I had this feeling of unity and also like, oh, I'm out of it now. Like I've given it to God. I'm out of it now. She's just in the body of creation or Christ or one with God as I am, whatever phrasing you have, that unity moment of she's the same as me. And I'm out of it now. And that was the feeling of closing. It was a feeling of neutrality, like there's nothing left, like the door closed
Hmm.
and there's no reason to ever return. But it started with the she's a child of God just as I am. We're the same. Okay, God, the rest of this is for you. And I'm out. And I really felt out. So now I could still turn a corner someday and maybe find, but
One
I think I'm out.
One of my favorite spiritual teachers is Carrie Kay. She's in South Africa. She calls herself a straight talking spiritual teacher, which I appreciate because please, straight talk to us, man.
Mhm.
But one of the things she recently said is that you will have an intuition, you will have a feeling, and then immediately after that, if you don't watch out, you'll have a thought. And
Mhm.
then poof, the feeling and the intuition get
Mhm.
superseded and
Yes.
thoughts take over, right? Because the thought is the mental process. So I believe strongly that what will happen is what you just described. You'll have the feeling of the release, you'll feel the neutrality of it, you'll have the knowingness that this is completed and done. And
Mhm.
then you have the thought that superimposes itself and overlays itself and says things like, and gives it words, right? And it'll describe it. It'll say, wow, this is neutral. It'll come up with the word neutral to describe it. I feel neutral. Or I even have feelings of generosity and gift giving, like I can give the gift, right? And so that Course in Miracles lesson that talks about that and you describe that, it seems like, it has to use words. It has to appeal to the thoughts,
Mhm.
say, okay, come. It's like almost like enticing you to the experience, to the
Yes.
feeling. Come
Yes.
on, this is how you'll feel when you do this. This is what it'll be. This is the what you're striving for, the goal for this letting go of this grievance. But
Mhm.
it is ultimately the experience itself has nothing to do with a thought or a one, two, three step process or anything. It's you do it. It
Mhm.
happens. So it's amazing though when it does because you do feel yourself buoyant. You feel yourself release.
Well, back to your point, you now make room for joy.
Hmm. What a great
Your
segue.
point,
Let's talk about joy
yeah,
now.
yeah. As you sweep these disturbances away, you make room for joy.
Yes. I think joy is our true nature, our blissful state, our usual state of being.
Mhm.
And if you just look at children, you get it. That they come in with, a sense of wonder. They come in with, and you can say innocence, naive, that sort of thing, or all you want. But when it comes down to it, if you have a sense of wonder and you have a sense of curiosity and you're childlike in that respect, then it's a joyful experience. I really I have this, and I continue to be told by, again, the angel team that I work with, that our true nature is love. It is compassion. It is joy. It is blissed out state. That by going into this dark, deep density experience that we've been in, where we've confronted shadow and darkness and how it's kind of almost like a limbo game. How low can you go? And if you look at it that way, then you don't get so tied up in knots to know that you are a powerful being that can rise back up out of that. And so to me, that's what this whole ascension, you know, experience is okay, we've gone as low as we can go, and now let's rise back to our true nature. Let's recapture our true nature. And in my own lifetime, I've experienced that, right? Came in very joyful. I distinctly remember specific experiences in childhood of wonder, curiosity, joy, the joy of nature, the joy of having new experiences, the joy of figuring out how words rhyme. That was fun. You're figuring out how you can create things, and the creator being that you are, you're figuring those things out. And then they put you into structure. They put you into a process to program that out of you so that you can be part of the system. And I say they, I mean everybody. We've all kind of done it, right? Whether it's the parental influence or the education institution or the governmental process or whatever, we get domesticated, so to speak, out of our true nature. It's like here you have, an animal that's wild, and now you've domesticated it. And you've domesticated it so it can be a certain way in these, particular containments. And I'm not saying we should throw out etiquette and all that kind of thing, but if we return to our true nature, which is love and compassion and a feeling of oneness with everything, then we're not doing things that can be harmful to each other. It wouldn't even cross our minds to do that. That to me is the innocent mindset that was described when, if you look back at the creation story, um, with, in the Garden of Eden, humans were described as innocent, right? They had the innocence about them. Well, that's because we were walking around in our true nature, with this feeling that we weren't necessarily going into these depths of darkness. We were living in a light, crystalline light way with each other in a harmonious way, in a harmony with nature and each other, with earth and each other. So I'm just so excited that we're going to return to that, we're getting back to that. And I can't help it, but I just, in my bones, feel it's this lifetime. It's
Oh,
not
I know.
100
Yes.
years from now. It's not
Uh-huh.
another 10,000 year cycle.
No,
It's
it's now.
this
Mhm.
lifetime, and it's
Yeah.
imminent. And
Yeah.
if you're an eternal being, of course, we all keep hearing it's any day now, and like the end of September was supposed to be the rapture or something.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
that's because I feel like we're getting a sense of things energetically shifting. As soon as you
we
get to
feel the shift. Yeah, we're feeling it.
Right. When you get to that event horizon, it feels like you're already in the event, though it hasn't actually, you haven't tipped over yet into the new way of being. You're so close, you're getting closer and closer and closer. It's almost like, think of it as a gradient when you think about how the colors blend into each other. We're kind of in that blend point of the gradient. We're going from blue to green, or red to yellow, it's that gradient where we're in the middle and it's kind of the orangish color between red and yellow, So I think that's where we are right now. And you can take this part of it, this part of this process that we're in, this metamorphosis that we're in, and you can go through it very angsty it's like you can go down the river and choose the rapids, or you can choose the smooth side of the river. So, do you want joy? Do you want to be like in observance of this and look at it and say, wow, this is an amazing period of time. What I'm doing right now, I may never do again. I was cutting up an onion last night and I was putting things in my crock pot. I was making a pot of beans. I'm from New Orleans, and every once in a while I get a hankering for red beans and rice. And so I was setting my crock pot up so I could put a pot of beans on. And I'm cutting up an onion and I'm saying to myself, wow, what if this was the last time I ever cut an onion? I could sit here and like, oh my gosh, if I cry because I'm cutting the onions, it's going to make my eyes puffy. Or I could say, wow, this may be the last time I ever cut an onion and cry because the onion juice is making my eyes water. So it is a perspective. It is a perspective shift. So choose joy, choose wonder, and choose a more a better ease through the process. That's what my feeling is. That's what my feeling is this week. My battery went dead in my car.
Oh.
And I had a choice to look at it as, oh my gosh, my battery, I've got to deal with this baloney. And then I go and I get this portable charger that I bought, jump starter, and it doesn't work. It's charged up, but it doesn't work. And no amount of looking at the manual to figure out why it's not working was going to shift it. The experience forced me to walk across the street and talk to my neighbor and borrow her portable jump starter and then have an experience with her and talking about everything, getting it and then returning it and putting the thank you note. Now, I could choose to look at this as, oh God, what a drag. This was such a drag to have to deal with this. My life is just, oh my gosh, such a burden. Or I can look at it as, you know what? Stuff happens and I'm going to just deal with it because I am capable and I'm proficient. And in the meantime, I get to have a nice experience exchanging, pleasantries with my neighbor. She gets a chance to feel good about herself, to lend me her this equipment that she has, and I get a chance to express gratitude by thanking her and putting it, a little thank you note when I put it back on her porch. And all is well. I've got a new battery, the car works fine, everything's good, right? So it's your choice. Do you want to experience this through joy, or do you want to experience this through angst? Only you choose that. It's only you that's choosing that. Okay. I feel like I was just ranting. I feel like I was
Well,
off
no,
there, but
it's wonderful to take the, challenge of working through something and
hmm
then saying, and you can now choose joy. You may have more bandwidth, more breathing room, to enjoy the richness of cutting an onion, chatting with a neighbor. We don't know how long these daily experiences are going to be like this.
hmm
And so drink in the juice,
Yes. Yeah.
and then whatever's coming will come.
Right. I'm not saying go and do things that are dangerous and jump off a cliff without a parachute and things like that, not by any means. I'm not saying throw safety out the door, but I'm just saying that we can choose to have joy. And that's what I keep getting. The old me that wasn't listening to my angel team, didn't even know my angel team was like around me, and I could attune to it and really, feel supported and get fabulous advice and support. I would have been angsty.
Yeah.
I would have been stressed out. I would have been wringing my hands dealing with this, car issue, with my car stuck in the garage, thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to call roadside assistance to come get my car out? Or is there, do I need to go bug my neighbors? I mean, that was first the spiraling that I was in. And then now that I am being totally reinforced all the time, choose joy, choose joy, choose joy, choose joy. I'm like, okay, if I was going to choose joy in this situation, how would I look at this as a positive thing? Or how can I float through it with joy instead of angst? And so I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means because I started off with the little spiral, and then I recovered myself and went, wait a minute. what have I been learning? I've been learning that if you choose joy, you'll have a better experience through this. And I was. I don't know, maybe when I went to the store where I got the battery replaced and they were all sweet and kind to me and everything, could have been because I was exuding joy too.
Hmm.
I can tell you one thing that happened. I walked through their door and set off the little alarm. Boop, 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 boop.
The door of where you got the battery.
Yeah, and then he's like, "What do you have? Do you have a weapon? What do you have?" I'm like, "No, I'm just me." I mean, I have a phone in my purse and a key
Hmm.
fob that would maybe activate your machine.
Hmm.
And so I wandered around the store a little bit, and then so I kept going back and through that door. Every time I went through that door, it beeped.
Hmm.
And then
Angela's here.
I know,
Angela's here.
I know. We ended up I ended up making a joke and I was like, I think I'm just electrified.
That's right.
And he was joking about it too. So I think again, I could just be like, alarm, alarm. Oh my gosh, do I have to spill out the contents of my purse? Or I could just go with,
Hmm.
making it's humor, being
Hmm.
humorous about it,
Hmm.
tripping the equipment. And he's like, go ahead, don't worry about it, And so
No threat to you, sir. Yeah.
carry that sense of joy with you and it can interact with others and make others feel, good in the interaction. And I think it increases your trustworthiness with people as well.
Mhm.
Or was that just my imagination?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
Well,
this has been a great conversation. Do you have any like final thoughts or anything?
no, no, my final thoughts are just I encourage everyone to keep on keeping on.
Yes.
If you find you're at one of those intersections where you think, I thought I had that done. Do a little more, and then maybe it will be done. I think we can't move 50 cubic yards of dirt in one go. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like we can move 25 yards and think, wow, I've got that done. And well, no, but when you're in another place or stronger, have accomplished other things, you can go back and go, oh, there's more. But maybe you're now prepared for the next phase of whatever that is. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily a bad thing. Things unfold as they should. So having some trust in that and then finding joy. I love that we're leaving it on that.
Yes. All right. Well, it's great talking with you, checking in. I love our little check-ins. I look forward
All
to seeing you next time.
right. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.